We had a popular retail stock, which I'm sure we have at least a couple happy viewers here today. SoFi, they released earnings and they popped up. They were up over 20% when we started the stream. I think the thing that made them pop so much is they were surprisingly profitable in the quarter. They were expected to lose like 5 cents and they had 2 cents of EPS earnings. And I think what the Prospero signals are so cool for is that after you have a stock like SoFi, which is a bit of a riskier stock, and it goes up 20%, you'd be inclined to maybe take profit if you're up or whatnot. But maybe we could look at SoFi in Prospero right now, and you could give your opinion on like how it looks even after this 20% move that it's had.
Yeah, of course. Let's get a live look. So yeah, you can actually see net option sentiment still looking pretty strong. But it was 74 midday, so it's down to 67. And if you actually look at its previous low in the last few days, like has been 70, 71. So like, yeah, 67, it is looking lower right now. So that's my first read that it could be losing steam. But like if I'm talking about like, okay, what levels, I would say if you see that touch below 60, that is a definite sell signal as far as I'm concerned, that this run has lost steam. Um, but yeah, one of the things like upside breakout obviously is heading up a lot. Like it started at 64 and now it's at 70, and downside breakout is heading down. So we are seeing some good fundamentals on it other than that. And that's the full way I would look at it. But yeah, I would watch that net option sentiment because to Steven's point, one of the things that Prospero does really well and that people have loved in the past is like it goes beyond technicals. We've seen this with Meta. Meta's the perfect example. Meta's been at 100 upside breakout since it was trading at 200 last year. And some people have been just like so many times, it's been like, yeah, like I see Meta's like at 100, like, but it's up like 50% already. Like, is it still good? Like, are you still confident? Like, like technicals say it's overbought. And I'm just like, if you see it at 100 upside breakout, that's live. It means, the components of upside breakout, it means long term options markets pricing are still bullish. It means analysts still like, buy ratings, price target above where it's trading. That has adjusted up, and price momentum factors that like to have 100 upside breakout, you have to have all of those things very high. So like, yeah, that's a reason it works really well. And net option sentiment is similar in that in a different way, where it's looking at short-term options expirations and it's kind of netting out the, demand for calls above where the stock is trading versus puts below where the stock is trading. So like, yeah, when you see that, you're getting a live look. But when you see like, SoFi starting the day at 72 net option sentiment, it's at 67. If it keeps going down to 60, as I'm saying, that's like, oh, that actually means people are starting to pay more for puts below where the stock is trading, or pay less for calls below where the stock is trading. And obviously that should be a warning sign to people that are long. We're not there yet. Like I would keep watching. Personally, like how I look at these things is once I saw it go below 65, or even now, I might start like layering out of my long position, or at least hedging it with a bit of a short position too, um, or buying some puts for insurance, etc. Especially if you're in the profit, take a little profit out, buy some puts, so you can actually even maybe see some short-term wins, if you like that. But if you're just like nervous, but like yeah, like that's how I look at it. But I would say like right now, it's like I would start thinking about selling very seriously and doing that if an option goes below 65. Um, and then, beyond that, if I saw it go below 60, I would start to like really say like, okay, I really have to get out of a good portion of my position now. But that's just me. I'm just telling you how I look at things.
So for a stock that makes a 20% move, would it be a natural regression for the net options or upside breakout to go down a little bit? Or do you not, is that not natural? Like, could it go up? Is it random depending on the case of the stock? Logically, to me, it seems like natural that after it moves up, those would regress at least like a little bit.
So I do the Tesla case study like super often. But I think it's just gonna really help for me to pull that up. So people should be able to see. So like yeah, the first thing, and we review this all the time, so I'm just gonna be like super quick with it. Um, is that when I picked up Tesla, I even saw basically the net option sentiment, like it was very volatile before. We see this higher low. I picked it up and you see it like fixate on 100, which basically means the 2000 stocks. Tesla was just at the top, which if anyone watches an option sentiment, it's very hard to have like, this is like This is volatility we saw. Other than that, there was more volatility leading in. And we actually picked it up a second time because a user told us about this. But I pulled this up to illustrate a point that this is like, yes, to your question, like you do often see buy on the rumor, sell on the news. When you see Tesla in our very like comparatively ugly old interface, you actually see there was big news July 2nd. You see exactly that. The options bets completely changing at open, going down from like 100, almost 100 to 73 at open on July 3rd. And then you could actually see people filing into the long term options over the course of the rest of the week, basically taking those short term bets that were on the news events and then firing them in, like following them into long term bets. You can even see basically like what we're talking about, how good of a leading signal Tesla could be so often. But like, to answer your question, there is no one way that it interacts, but it is indicative, right? If you started to see like SoFi just like go from like a 72 net option sentiment right as this stock moves up more to like a 50, then yeah, people would be like, nope, that's all the juice there is. We don't care. We're going to start betting against it or we're getting out of our positions. What we're seeing right now is maybe like, yeah, I would say some people deciding there was enough juice in that trade and starting to like either make more bets against or pull out of their bets for. But that's what we're talking about. Like, it's not super conclusive. It is indicative that some people are changing their bets, but basically exactly what I'm telling you. Like, yeah, you could see that in that Tesla example, people just very conclusively being like, nope, we don't care about short-term bets on Tesla as much, but we care more about long-term bets. Sometimes it's super conclusive. Sometimes it's like we don't care about short-term bets anymore, and we don't actually care about long-term bets. So you won't see that like filing up in upside breakout. The makeups are very different, but it is always very indicative of what the market feels like in terms of their options bets. And to bring it back to SoFi and tie a nice little bow on this, what we're seeing in SoFi today is like I would say a slight softening of either desire to hold on to those long-term calls or more bets of puts against. They could be hedge bets with those puts, just to be like, okay, we don't quite want to get out of our calls or our long positions, but we do want to take profit, make some put bets just to make sure that we are profiting if there's a big move in the other direction. So it's a little worry. I would call institutional options worry on SoFi by institutions. Like what I guided you to in terms of net options set to be going below 65 is like I would say more conclusive worry, and look lower than 60 is like I would say pretty good evidence that there is concerted worry in the options markets, and that's when I'd advise to really change your positions around. So watch it in the app.